Hey, howdy, hey y'all. Welcome to part 2 of my palette collection and declutter series. We're gonna jump right into it. I'm into the C's because I'm kind of going in alphabetical order. And so we're going to start off with my Charlotte Tilbury palettes. This is the Hollywood Flawless Eye Filter Diva Lights. Very pretty palette. This is another palette that I have not used. And then I have the Golden Goddess, and I have used this palette. It is a gorgeous palette and I love it. I'm keeping both of those. This is Starry Eyes to Hypnotize. Look at how pretty that packaging is. Very, very pretty. I love how she puts the shade saver in there and has the shadows grouped to kind of help you create a look if you want. This is a very beautiful palette. Another palette that I have not used as of yet. And if I am correct, I got this palette on Amazon fairly cheap. I caught it on sale. I'm keeping that. And then we have the Instant Eye Palette. Smoky Eyes Are Forever. Beautiful packaging. This has the same concept with the eyeshadows grouped together. Look at how pretty that is. It's so pretty. That would be a nice fall palette. I'm keeping that. And my last Charlotte Tilbury palette is this Bejeweled Eyes to Hypnotize. And it has the same shade saver, and this one is pretty as well. I have used this one once. I intend to use it again. I will be keeping this palette as well. The next palette is the Ciate I Am Woman What's Your Superpower palette. And I have used this palette. I really do like it. I don't like many of Ciate London's eyeshadow palettes, but I do like this one, and we'll be using this in an upcoming collab. I love the shade names, are some very powerful women, and so I will be keeping this. Next I have the Ciate London The Velvet palette. It's in very nice packaging, and I don't remember where I got this from, and it is very pretty. I don't remember where I got this from, and it is a very pretty palette. I see that I have at least swatched it. I may have used some of those shimmers, but this is not something that I'm going to reach for, so I will be decluttering this. Next I have Ciate London The Editor palette, and I believe that I got this in one of my boxes, BoxyCharm. I don't remember which subscription box that I got it from. It's a very pretty palette, and I have never used it, and I'm pretty sure I am not going to reach for it. Although look at that blue, y'all. So I am going to declutter this one as well. The next palette that I have is this Dragon Fruit palette, and it is Huda Cosmetics X Emily Violet Marie, and I have had this palette for a while. However, the palette broke. The case broke, as you can see. Completely fell apart when I opened it. It just broke again. The little pieces came off, and that's why I have not shown it on my channel. I was waiting for them to send me another case. They said that when they were making the case, the little pins, they made it too tight. It wasn't the right specifications, and a lot of people had their palettes break when they opened them. So they sent me a new case, and now that the shades are all nestled into their new palette, I will be able to use this. It is absolutely stunning, and of course I will be keeping this and doing a look with it on my channel. I haven't even pulled the plastic off of it. It is such a beautiful palette, and I am very excited to use it. And now moving into my Colourpop palettes. This is the Flutterby palette. This was one of the first few Colourpop palettes that I bought, and I love Colourpop, so I am definitely keeping that. Next we have the Going Coconuts palette, and as you can see, this has been very well loved. I love this little palette. I am definitely keeping that. I don't see myself getting rid of any of my Colourpop palettes. This is the High Tide palette. Very pretty. I have not used this palette yet. I am keeping that. This is the Colourpop Hocus Pocus Gather Round Sisters palette. Beautiful palette. Of course, I had to have this because I love Halloween and anything witchy, and this was right up my alley. Love Hocus Pocus, and I mean, look at those colors. And of course, I have not used it, but hey, Halloween's right around the corner, so I will be getting that used soon. And then we have the It's a Mood palette, another beautiful palette. I believe I have used this once. I see some really pretty fall colors in there. I will be keeping that. And the Limoncello palette. I have used this palette. This is a beautiful palette. I will be keeping that. Lush Life. Another beautiful palette. I will be keeping that. The Mandalorian. The Child. I love these greens. I have used this palette quite a few times. Very pretty palette. I'm keeping that. The Sandstone palette. And as you can see, I have this all bundled up because I have two of them. I love this palette. It is a beautiful, beautiful palette. And the reason that I have two of them is because I plan to do a video soon for fall. And I'm going to do a look and a giveaway. And then we have the So Fly palette with a dragonfly on it, and anybody that knows me knows that I love my dragonflies. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful palette. That shade there in the center is very, very unique. It's an amazing shade. Look at that teal blue. Just a beautiful, beautiful palette. I used this in a collab with Andy Does Stuff. And this palette was gifted to me by Gloria, and Gloria's channel name is Beauty Over 50. Definitely keeping that. And then we have the Stone Cold Fox palette. As you can see, this palette has been loved on. It is such a beautiful, cool tone palette, and I'm finding that I actually really love cool tone shades. I am lucky in that I am a neutral girl, so I can do cool tones or warm, and I love this palette. I definitely will be keeping that. The next palette that I have, I just received. This is the Ticket to Dreamland palette. It's a very, very pretty palette. I just got this palette. It was a gift from Andy. Andy Does Stuff when she did her declutter. She sent this to me, and my daughter has this palette and she loves it, so I was excited to get that. The last palette that I have is this At Foresight, which was the collab that Colourpop did with Raw Beauty Christie. I love Raw Beauty Christie, and I love anything nature-based. So everything from the packaging to the shades to the shade names really spoke to me, and I love this palette, and I'm definitely keeping it. That was not the last of the Colourpop because I forgot that I just received this Harry Potter palette. This is their newest palette. Obviously, I have not used this. I am very excited to use it because look at how beautiful that is. The packaging is very unique. It almost has a soft touch feel to it. Very pretty, and look at that shade right there. Beautiful, beautiful palette. I am obviously keeping this. And this is my one and only Dior palette. This is the Denim palette. And it is a very pretty palette, and I have used it once, I think, and I will use it again. I will not purchase any more Dior because it is my understanding that Dior is not cruelty free, and I'm trying my best to stay away from brands that are not cruelty free, but it seems that the more I go and the more I find out that I'm just absolutely screwed, because even though they say that they're cruelty free, I'm learning that some are not. So I just cannot wrap my brain around brands testing beauty products on animals. I do not believe that any animal should be made to suffer or harmed so that I can look pretty. Here's the last of the C's, I believe. I skipped over this one. This is Cxd Beauty. And this is the, I believe it's Purple Passion is the name of this palette. It doesn't say it on the palette, but I believe that that's the name of it. And it is a beautiful, beautiful purple palette. I love it. And these, you can see the little divots there in between the shades. You can move the shades around if you like, or if you use one, you can go on his website. I believe that he still carries these shades on his website and replace the ones that you have used up. I have used this palette once. I used it in a video when I got it, and I have not used it since, but I intend to use it again because it is a beautiful palette, and the shades, the formula is really nice as well. And then I have two Dido or Dido, or however you choose to pronounce it. I have heard it pronounced both ways. These are beautiful little palettes. I love the colors and I love the embossing, and I believe that these are really nice for people who are beginners in makeup. Look at how pretty those are. Both of them are very pretty palettes. However, they are not pigmented enough for my liking, even though they're so pretty. And I even love, like, I love the packaging with the planets and everything, but I know I am not going to reach for them. So to be realistic, I'm just going to declutter both of these. Next we have my Dominique Cosmetics palettes. This is the Berries and Cream. It is such a pretty palette. This is a beautiful palette that I have not touched yet. It is on my to-do list. I am definitely keeping that palette. I also have the Celestial Storm palette. This palette as well, I have not used. Love those colors. Those are some beautiful fall colors. I need to put this up higher on my list and use it for the fall. I am keeping that. This is the Dominique Cosmetics Latte 2 palette. This as well is a pretty fall palette, I believe. I love that the mirror has "Every day is a fresh start" engraved on it. Very pretty palette. I am keeping that. And then my last Dominique Cosmetics palette is this Transition palette. I believe I got this in BoxyCharm. It's an all matte palette and it is so pretty. I have used this palette a couple of times. Beautiful palette. I am definitely keeping that. And the last palette in the D's is this Dolce palette, and I believe that I got this from Iby Beauty. I had always wanted to try this brand. I was quite fretted when I got it because it's broke. This little closure here is broke. It's a very pretty palette. I have used it quite a few times. I like that the little pans in here are magnets. You can take them out, rearrange them, but it's not super pigmented for me. The shades are nice, but yeah, I think I'm going to declutter this one. And these are my little e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. This is Chocolate Mint. This one is Meant to Be, and this one is Jalapeno. I like these. I will be keeping all of those. This is the e.l.f. Hot Chocolate palette. This is a really nice palette. Nice fall palette. I will definitely be keeping that. I do not like all of the e.l.f. formulas, but I do like most of them. This is the Prism palette. It is a very nice highlighter palette. I really do enjoy this when I need a highlighter and something that does not have one, so I will be keeping that. This is the e.l.f. X Chipotle palette, and I love this palette. As you can see, it has been well loved, and those greens are just very unique. I love the whole concept of this, the way they laid it out like the bar at Chipotle, the food bar. So I am definitely keeping that. And then this is the e.l.f. X Jen Atkins Let's Effing Do This. No, Let's Elfing Do This. And it is a very pretty palette. It has a bronzer, a blush, and a highlight with your shades here. I have used it once. I have never reached for it again. And so I think I am going to declutter that. Next I have the Queen. This is Eloise Beauty. I love the packaging. It's very pretty, and it is a very pretty palette. And I believe that all I have ever done is swatched it. I have never used this palette, and I am fairly certain that I will never reach for it, so I am going to declutter that one. Next up is my Ensley Rain Scorpio palette, which I am a Scorpio, and when I saw this palette I absolutely had to have it because, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful this is. It is absolutely beautiful. I have not had it very long. I haven't had the chance to use it yet, but I will be using it and I am quite excited, so this is definitely staying in my collection. And I have a few Essence palettes. This is Bonjour Montreal, which looks oddly enough like that Butter London Goddess palette, now that I'm looking at it. This is a very pretty palette, and I am going to keep that. Then we have the Good Day Sydney, which, okay, I was like, those are very similar, but they are similar, aren't they? They are kind of sort of similar. But I'm going to be keeping both of these because I think they're both very pretty. And I am going to keep this Never Give Up Your Daydream palette that I got from Marshall's because it is just this beautiful pastel shimmer highlight. It's gorgeous, and I'm definitely keeping that. Next I have this Formula Z Cosmic Glitz that I received in one of my subscription boxes, and it is a very pretty little palette, but I know that I am never going to use this. I love the concept of this brand. I did do some research on them, but I know that I'm not going to reach for this, so I'm going to declutter it. And next up on the chopping block, we have Give Them Lala Beauty. And this is the Grown Woman's palette. And it is so pretty. See, even Biscuit thinks it's pretty. Just a beautiful palette. I believe all I've ever done is swatch it, but I am going to use this as beautiful for the fall, so I am definitely keeping that. And then we have Girl Code palette. This is Glamistry Beauty. And I used this in a collab with Beauty and More with Renee. I actually heard about this palette from her to begin with and got it on sale for $10. This company has gone out of business. I don't know if this palette is still available for $10. If it is, I'll link it down below because that is a steal. I think it was like a $40 palette, and it is a beautiful palette. I am definitely keeping that. And now getting into my Glam Light collection, this is the Cake palette. I love this packaging. It is super cute. This is a beautiful palette, and I use this in a collab with Andy from Andy Does Stuff. And I love those colors. The Glam Light shimmers are really, really nice, and I am definitely keeping this palette. When I bought that palette, I got a bundle, and there were several palettes in the bundle. This is one of them, the Glam Light Icy palette. Look at those beautiful blues. And when I saw this palette and the next one that I'm going to show you, I was like, I am never going to use those, but I think I will. I am certainly going to try. That is so pretty. I'm definitely going to keep that. And I have used this Icy palette in a collab. I don't remember which collab it was. Beautiful palette. So pretty. Keeping that. And then I have the Michaela palette, which is very reflective. This is a really pretty palette too. I have used this in a collab with Erica Conger. Love those purples and the greens. Very pretty palette. I am keeping that. And since I had that one, of course, I had to have Pot 2. I'm guessing that green is Michaela's favorite color. I just got this palette not too long ago. And oh my gosh, look at how beautiful that is. I have not used it yet. I will be using it on my channel. So I'm definitely keeping that. And my last Glam Light palette is the Street Taco palette. And I believe that this is one of Ash's favorite palettes from, from Makeup and Chaos. I have not used it yet, but it's very pretty and I intend to use it, so I'm keeping that. And then we have the Gourmand Girls X Krista Rice Makeup. This is the Spectra palette, and I have not used this palette. It is a very pretty palette, and I'm undecided. I'm going to keep it for now, but I may declutter it in the future. We shall see. And also from the Gourmand Girls is this That Time of the Year palette, which was a collab with Debutante, Adventures of Xenia, and the Brutally Honest Beauty. And I got this because I absolutely love Debutante. Love her. And so I wanted to support them by getting this palette. I watched her do a video creating several looks. It's a beautiful palette. And I have yet to use it, but it's on my to-do list, so I'm keeping that. And now getting into my Hip Dot palettes. I use this on my channel. This is the Cenote palette. And it's a very pretty palette. I love the color story. I did not like how this palette performed. I know I'm never going to reach for it again, so I am going to declutter that. And then we have the Ouija palette, and I love this packaging. Look at the little planchette. I have used this on my channel. Used it in a collab with Gloria from Makeup Over 50. And it performed okay. I am going to keep this palette simply for the packaging because I absolutely love it. And my last Hip Dot palette is the Zion. And this is a very pretty palette. I believe that I swatched a few of the shades. I have not used it. And I know that I am not going to use it because I'm already not impressed with Hip Dot's formula. So I will be decluttering that. And now we're moving on into Huda Beauty. This is the Amethyst palette, Amethyst Obsessions. Beautiful little palette. I have not used this palette yet, but I will. I am keeping that. I also have the Gemstone Obsessions, and this as well is a beautiful palette, and I will be keeping that. Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. Stunning, stunning, stunning palette. Love it. It is so beautiful. I have used this several times and in a collab video with a bunch of channels, and I am definitely keeping that. This is the Rose Gold palette remastered. I love this packaging. And I love the Shade Saver. This is one of the Shade Savers that I have kept because it is so pretty. This is a gorgeous palette and I have used it many times. I just love it. I won this palette in a giveaway from Sunny's Place here on YouTube. Beautiful palette. I am definitely keeping this. And my last Huda Beauty palette is the Rose Quartz palette. And this as well is a beautiful, beautiful palette. I've used this several times and I absolutely love it. And will use it again. I'm definitely keeping all of my Huda Beauty palettes. And next we're getting into Iby or Iby Beauty. I like to say Iby. It just makes me happy. This is the Hollywood Glam palette that I got in a boxy charm, I believe. I love their formulas. I have not used this palette yet, but look at how pretty that is. It is a beautiful palette, and I am definitely going to keep it. This is the Poolside palette. I got this in a box as well. I have used this palette. It performed really, really well, and I really liked it, and I will be keeping that palette as well. This is the Super Bloom palette, and I just got this palette. I don't remember whether I got it from the Boxy Mega or from Ipsy. I got it from one or the other. Blurry. There we go. It is a beautiful palette. Some nice fall colors in there, and I will definitely be keeping that. So that's it for part 2. Here are all the palettes that I have decluttered in part 2. There are 17 palettes here. In part 1, I decluttered 11. So I'm up to 28, which is incredibly impressive for me. You have no idea, because I really thought when I sat down to do this that I would just declutter maybe 3 or 4 palettes. So I'm very, very proud of myself. If you have not seen part 1, I'll have that linked up in the iCard. Thanks for hanging out with me and watching me do another palette collection declutter video. Before you go, make sure you show that like button some love. And as always, I'd like to remind you that makeup is meant to enhance the natural beauty that you already are. And we are all beautiful at any age or any size. Find something to be grateful for today. Pull your makeup out and play with it. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye. Christopher, do you need a shiny sunshade for when you're fishing? I mean, you know, you could open this up and lay it over top of your head. It would protect you a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what kind of makeup tip to give you in this video, son, except for save your money. Don't buy all of these palettes like your mama. Okay? Mama loves you, boo.